The following procedure will assist you with creating basic conduit bends using an ideal conduit bender. All bender head sizes are available in high-strength ductile iron. The 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch bender heads are also available in lightweight aluminum. Ensure you are using the correct bender head for your conduit diameter and material. Ideal benders can be accessorized with boots to make offset and saddle bends safer and easier. This procedure will cover the following types of bends: stub, back-to-back, offset, box offset, and saddle. The following steps will explain the features of the bender. This area will display the conduit size and material appropriate for the bender. This arrow will align with measurements for stub, offset, and saddle bends. This rim notch will align with the center point of a saddle bend. This star point will align with the bending point of a back 90-degree bend. These degree lines indicate the angle to which the conduit is bent. The conduit is bent to a specified degree when it is parallel to the corresponding degree line. This marking shows the number of inches that will be lost during a stub bend. The serrated heel is used when bending conduit on the ground. To bend conduit on the ground, use your foot to apply downward pressure on the serrated heel. The radius of the bend will change depending on the diameter of the conduit. Each bender provides an offset bending quick reference guide label affixed to the handle. Reference your bender's offset bending guide to ensure you are calculating the correct offset depth for the degree of bend you are working with. When creating saddle bends, refer to the table in the ideal reference guide supplied with your bender. When bending on the ground, it is important to find a flat surface. Bending on uneven surfaces will affect the accuracy of bends. Hold the conduit to the ground using one foot. Your foot should be perpendicular to the bender head. Then, use the other foot to apply firm, steady pressure downward on the serrated heel of the bender. When bending in the air, exert pressure as close to the bender as possible. If you slightly over or under bend the conduit, you can use the hollow handle of the bender to make slight adjustments. The following steps will assist you with a stub bend. Measure the distance needed for the bend. Reference the bender for the stub to arrow distance. This is the distance that will be taken up by the arc in the conduit. This distance will be reduced from the measurement before marking the conduit. Insert the conduit into the bender and align the previously made mark with the arrow on the bender. Apply firm, steady pressure to the serrated heel until the conduit is bent to 90 degrees. The bent conduit should slide comfortably into place. The following steps will assist you with a back-to-back bend. Measure the distance needed for the bend. From the back end of the conduit, measure the distance needed, and mark the conduit. Insert the conduit into the bender and align the previously made mark with the star point. Apply firm, steady pressure to the serrated heel until the conduit is bent to 90 degrees. The bent conduit should slide comfortably into place. The following steps will assist you with offset bends. Offset bends can vary depending on the height of the obstruction and bend degrees. Measure the distance needed for the offset and the height of the obstruction. Use the offset bending guide to determine the proper measurements needed. This example will use 30-degree bends with a 4 inches obstruction. When measuring for the first bend, add the shrinkage to the measurement before marking the conduit. For the second bend, measure 8 inches back from the previous mark, then mark the conduit. Insert the conduit into the bender and align the first mark with the arrow on the bender. Apply firm, steady pressure to the serrated heel to bend the conduit to the 30-degree line. Turn the bender onto the boot. Slide the conduit down to align the second mark with the arrow. Then, rotate the conduit 180 degrees. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 30-degree line. The bent conduit should slide comfortably into place. The following steps will assist you with a box offset bend. The obstruction height for a box offset will typically be 3/8 of an inch. Due to the low obstruction height, 10-degree bends are used for box offset bends. Make the first mark 2.5 inches from the end of the conduit to ensure the hook on the bender will not deform the end of the conduit. To find the distance for 10-degree offsets, multiply the offset height by 6. For this example, 3/8 of an inch multiplied by 6 is 2¼ inches. Make the second mark 2¼ inches from the first mark. Insert the conduit into the bender and align the first mark with the arrow on the bender. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 10-degree line. Slide the conduit down to align the second mark with the arrow. Then, rotate the conduit 180 degrees. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 10-degree line. The bent conduit should slide comfortably into place. The following steps will assist you with a saddle bend. Use the saddle bend guide to determine the proper measurements needed. For this example, we will be measuring for a 3 inches obstruction. Measure the distance needed for the saddle and the height of the obstruction. When measuring for the center bend, add the shrinkage to the measurement before marking the conduit. Measure and mark 7½ inches from each side of the center bend mark. Insert the conduit into the bender and align the center bend mark with the rim notch. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 45-degree line. Slide the conduit down and align one of the outer marks with the arrow on the bender. Then, rotate the conduit 180 degrees. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 22½ degree line. Remove the conduit from the bender. Rotate the conduit to align the other outer mark with the arrow on the bender. Ensure the center bend is oriented downward. Apply firm, steady pressure to bend the conduit to the 22½ inches degree line. The bent conduit should slide comfortably into place. We hope you have enjoyed using the conduit bending lesson. For more electrician support and digital tools, please download the Electrician's Sidekick app on your Apple or Android device from Ideal Industries. Congratulations! This completes how to create basic conduit bends using an ideal conduit bender.